Yeah, but so there's still, I mean, it's crazy too because there's still more happening in court. Like, I mean, everything is still active even though we're not hearing about it as much anymore. And the people may be fatigued like we talked about prior to.
Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
Sean Diddy Combs, once the epitome of luxury, power, and influence in the entertainment industry, now finds himself in circumstances that are as unrecognizable as the man he has become. For decades, he was the flashy figure who graced red carpets, dominated Forbes lists, and threw lavish parties attended by the creme de la creme of Hollywood. But today, Diddy is no longer the commanding mogul draped in designer suits. Instead, he's confined to a stark, windowless cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a facility notorious for its brutal reputation. His denied bail and the reality of his incarceration have left the world buzzing with shock, disbelief, and curiosity about how the man who once had it all could fall so far.
It's a question of that, but when you read through the indictment, it's pretty clear who could be indicted as a co-conspirator. Right now, there are people in the indictment who would be considered unnamed co-conspirators, but clearly have played a role in this conspiracy. And I think prosecutors have some big leverage on them because they're hoping that they testify against Diddy as prosecution witnesses.
The transformation Diddy has undergone in just a few months behind bars is nothing short of staggering. Recent court appearances have revealed a figure who is almost a shadow of his former self. Observers described him as noticeably thinner, with his once vibrant appearance replaced by a gaunt, pale complexion and hair that has turned visibly grayer. This physical transformation is a stark contrast to the Diddy the world remembers, a larger-than-life personality who seemed untouchable. Now he looks like someone who has been deeply affected by the harsh realities of prison life. It's not just the physical toll that has people talking, it's the psychological strain that appears to have stripped him of his trademark confidence and charm. And of course,
incredible. And, it brings into context our whole system of innocent till proven guilty. Why is he not being given bond? And, we could debate that all day long. Of all people that's unlikely to flee or get away, well, he's got the resources to flee, but he's so recognizable. And isn't he innocent till proven guilty? Well, yeah, but, we have to recognize there are degrees of innocent till proven guilty.
His time in the Metropolitan Detention Center has been anything but easy. The facility is infamous for its appalling conditions, rampant violence, and lack of basic human comforts. For someone like Diddy, who had spent decades surrounded by unimaginable luxury, the adjustment has been particularly brutal. Gone are the days of gourmet meals prepared by private chefs and evenings spent in sprawling mansions. Instead, he now faces a regimented daily schedule, plain meals served on plastic trays, and the constant anxiety that comes with being in a facility where safety is never guaranteed. Reports suggest that his fear of potential harm has even led him to refuse the meals provided by the prison, opting instead to survive on commissary snacks like chips and packaged sweets. The contrast between his former life and his current reality couldn't be more extreme.
Legitimate concern. No judge wants to wake up and read the headlines the next day. Oh, they treated this guy special and they gave him bond, and now he's gone and he fled from justice. So that's what's in the back of most judges' minds. On the other hand, we deal with cases where clients have significant funds sometimes, and sometimes where there's money, you can craft a unique solution. Years ago it was the ankle bracelet and the ankle monitor.
Diddy's dramatic fall from grace has captivated the public, sparking endless speculation about the man behind the headlines. How did someone who once seemed to have the world at his feet end up in such a precarious position? The answer lies in a series of legal and personal controversies that have dogged him for years, culminating in the charges that now threaten to define the rest of his life. The music mogul, who was once seen as a visionary entrepreneur and cultural icon, now finds himself battling allegations that could tarnish his legacy forever. The severity of the accusations, combined with his high-profile status, has made him a target both inside and outside the prison walls.
That with all the money he has and all the resources he has, they couldn't craft some solution that lets him be under some form of house arrest. And again, it sounds like special treatment, but the truth of the matter is, to incarcerate somebody like him is expensive to all of us. We're taxpayers, and he's got to have unique situations. You can't put him in general population where, everyone wants a piece of him and everyone wants to be his friend and everyone.
But what makes Diddy's story even more compelling is the way it lays bare the stark realities of life in the criminal justice system, especially for someone of his stature. The Metropolitan Detention Center, where he's currently being held, has been described by former inmates and advocates as a place of unrelenting hardship. The facility has been plagued by scandals, including allegations of corruption, unsanitary conditions, and neglect. For Diddy, who is used to the best of everything, the transition to this environment has been nothing short of shocking. Sources close to him reveal that he has struggled to adapt not just to the physical conditions, but also to the psychological toll of being cut off from the outside world.
Where his money could help us craft, he could build his separate jail cell, and we could keep him there. Just interesting to me that they sort of said, nope, you're going to be treated not like everybody else, but a lot like everybody else. Having money doesn't do it. So I wouldn't want to be those judges. There's sort of a no-win situation for the judge.
Despite the challenges, those who have seen Diddy in recent weeks insist that he remains mentally sharp and focused on his defense. His legal team has been working tirelessly to secure his release, but their efforts have so far been in vain. Judges have repeatedly denied his bail requests, citing concerns about witness tampering and flight risk. This means that Diddy will likely remain behind bars until his trial begins, a prospect that has only added to the strain he's under. Legal experts have noted that the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center could make it difficult for him to prepare for his defense, further complicating an already dire situation.
Well, Sierra, anything's possible, right? But now this judge has an even harder time, I think, because the past judge locked him up, didn't let him out, and he's still there available for trial. If the new judge lets him out on bond and something goes wrong, and this isn't the analysis that I'm proud to make, right? We shouldn't be saying, well, judges are worried about their own skin and how they look if something bad happens.
What's perhaps most striking about Diddy's current predicament is the public's reaction to it. For years, he was seen as a symbol of success, someone who had overcome adversity to become one of the most powerful figures in entertainment. But his arrest and subsequent incarceration have shattered that image, leaving many to question whether his success was built on a foundation that was far less stable than it appeared. The contrast between the man he once was and the man he has become is a powerful reminder of how quickly fortunes can change, even for someone as seemingly invincible as Diddy. Adding to the intrigue are the rumors and speculations surrounding his time in detention. Reports have emerged suggesting that Diddy is deeply paranoid about his safety, fearing that his high-profile status could make him a target. Some have even speculated that his refusal to eat prison meals stems from a fear of being poisoned. While such claims remain unverified, they highlight the unique challenges faced by someone of his stature in a facility like the Metropolitan Detention Center. Unlike most inmates, Diddy's fame and wealth make him both a target and a source of fascination, adding another layer of complexity to his already difficult situation.
Every jail is bad, and some jails are worse than others. And the problem, again, is if you move him, why is he getting special treatment? And maybe he's earned special treatment. Maybe what he's done, maybe he's given so much back to his fans and to the world and to charity that maybe there's a way that it plays out in the end. But again, to go into court and say this jail is bad, move him to another jail, is not your first argument. That's sort of the...
Observers have also noted the stark contrast between Diddy's current reality and the life he led just a few months ago. Before his arrest, he was seen enjoying a carefree day in Central Park, playing hacky sack and soaking up the sun. Today, that carefree image feels like a distant memory. The man who once commanded rooms with his charisma and confidence now spends his days in isolation, grappling with the weight of his circumstances. The transformation is so dramatic that it has left even those closest to him stunned.
They can't move in the general population. And would he be at risk? Sure, he'd be at risk. There's so many people that have nothing to lose, right? They're going to be in jail the rest of their life. They've got nothing to... They want their 15 minutes of fame. They were friends with Diddy, or they hurt Diddy, or they Diddy, or they did... there's so many, people in jail that this would be their moment. You can't put them there. Plus,
as Diddy's story continues to unfold, it raises important questions about the nature of fame, power, and accountability. How does someone who seemed to have it all end up in such a dire situation? And what does his experience say about the way society treats high-profile individuals who find themselves on the wrong side of the law? These are questions that will likely continue to be debated as Diddy's legal battles play out in the months ahead. For now, all eyes remain on the man who once ruled the music industry, now facing a fight for his freedom that could determine the course of the rest of his life. The reality of Sean Diddy Combs' current life behind bars is nothing short of a complete reversal from the luxurious, high-profile existence he once flaunted. For decades, he was the king of extravagance, the ultimate symbol of success in the music and entertainment industry. Now, he finds himself confined to a cold, unforgiving facility that many describe as one of the harshest detention centers in the country. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where Diddy has been held since September, is notorious for its squalid conditions and the emotional toll it takes on its inmates. But what does a day in Diddy's life look like now, and how has the man who once ruled the entertainment world been adjusting to this stark new reality?
What his team is trying to do is get the public to assume that the government is leaking some of this negative information about him, like that Cassie video. But the reality is, he's got a lot of enemies.
Each day begins early for Diddy, far removed from the leisurely mornings he once enjoyed in his sprawling mansions. At the Metropolitan Detention Center, lights flicker on at 6 a.m., and inmates are awakened to the harsh clang of metal doors and the shouts of guards. It's a jarring contrast to the serene mornings he likely once spent, sipping freshly brewed coffee while overlooking his private waterfront properties. Now his mornings are marked by the sound of footsteps echoing through the hallways, the smell of disinfectant, and the sight of peeling paint on the cinder block walls of his cell. Diddy's cell itself is a far cry from the luxurious accommodations he once considered home. Measuring roughly the size of a parking space, it features a narrow iron bed bolted to the floor, a thin mattress that barely offers any comfort, and a combination sink toilet unit that barely functions. There's no plush bedding, no soft lighting, just the glaring fluorescence of the overhead bulb that never quite lets him forget where he is. Personal space is non-existent, privacy is a luxury he no longer has, and the walls around him seem to close in more with each passing day.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
Breakfast is served shortly after wake up, slid through a small slot in the door of his cell. The meal is basic and unappetizing: powdered eggs, a slice of white bread, and a carton of milk. For someone who once dined at five-star restaurants and enjoyed private chefs preparing gourmet meals, the adjustment has been brutal. It's no wonder that sources have claimed he avoids eating the prison meals altogether, fearing not only their quality but also the possibility of tampering. Instead, he's reportedly been relying on commissary items, prepackaged snacks like chips, crackers, and instant noodles. But even those come with restrictions, as inmates are limited in how much they can spend every 2 weeks. For a man accustomed to unlimited resources, the idea of budgeting for snacks must feel almost absurd.
This investigation is ongoing, and I encourage anyone with information about this case to come forward and to do it quickly.
The isolation is perhaps what's taking the greatest toll on Diddy. He's reportedly being held in the special housing unit, commonly referred to as solitary confinement, where inmates are separated from the general population for their own safety or as a form of punishment. For Diddy, it's likely a mix of both. As a high-profile inmate, his fame makes him a target in the general population, where jealousy and resentment can quickly turn into violence. But solitary confinement comes with its own set of challenges. Inmates in the special housing unit are confined to their cells for 23 hours a day, with just 1 hour allowed for exercise or a quick shower. That hour is spent in a small, caged area that offers no real sense of freedom, just a brief change of scenery. The psychological effects of such isolation are well documented. Studies have shown that prolonged time in solitary confinement can lead to anxiety, depression, and even hallucinations. For someone like Diddy, who once thrived on constant interaction and attention, the lack of social contact must feel like a punishment in itself. Gone are the days of rubbing elbows with celebrities, hosting lavish parties, and commanding the attention of millions. Now his world has shrunk to the four walls of his cell, with little to distract him from the weight of his circumstances.
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the SHU have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No stake for him. Yeah, he is on watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there.
Despite these challenges, those close to Diddy insist that he remains focused and determined to fight the charges against him. His legal team has been working tirelessly to prepare his defense, but the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center make it difficult for him to participate fully in his own case. Access to legal resources is limited, and his communication with his attorneys is often restricted by the prison's rules. Even something as simple as reviewing documents or discussing strategy requires navigating a maze of bureaucracy and logistical hurdles.
Understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch.
Adding to the pressure is the looming trial, which is set to begin in May of this year. The stakes couldn't be higher for Diddy, whose entire legacy hangs in the balance. If convicted, he faces the possibility of spending decades in prison, a prospect that must feel unimaginable for someone who once seemed untouchable. But even as he fights to clear his name, the court of public opinion has already begun to shift. The allegations against him have sparked a wave of controversy, with some fans standing by his side while others express disappointment and disbelief. The public's fascination with Diddy's downfall is fueled in part by the sheer contrast between his former life and his current reality. Just months ago, he was still living the life of a billionaire mogul, jet-setting between cities, attending exclusive events, and maintaining his image as one of the most influential figures in music. Now that life feels like a distant memory, replaced by the grim monotony of prison. The transformation is so dramatic that it has left even his most loyal supporters questioning how it all went so wrong.
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
Rumors and speculation about Diddy's time in prison have only added to the intrigue. Reports suggest that he has become increasingly paranoid, fearing for his safety at every turn. Some have claimed that he worries about the possibility of being harmed by other inmates or even by those with connections outside the prison walls. These fears aren't entirely unfounded, given the Metropolitan Detention Center's reputation for violence and corruption. Former inmates have described the facility as a place where anything can happen, and where even the guards can't always be trusted. This sense of vulnerability is a far cry from the confidence and control Diddy once exuded. In the past, he was the ultimate power player, a man who seemed to have everything figured out. But in prison, that power means nothing. Here, he's just another inmate, subject to the same rules and restrictions as everyone else. It's a humbling experience, one that has reportedly left him reeling as he comes to terms with his new reality.
This is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
The holidays, which Diddy likely would have spent surrounded by family and friends, were especially difficult for him this year. Inmates in solitary confinement often face even greater isolation during the holiday season, as visiting hours are restricted and the already limited opportunities for social interaction become almost non-existent. While other inmates received small goodie bags filled with snacks and treats, those in the special housing unit were reportedly excluded, further emphasizing their separation from the rest of the prison population. For Diddy, who once celebrated the holidays with extravagant parties and lavish gifts, the contrast must have been especially stark.
I think it's to be expected, just the shock of this and the questions about what is ahead of us. How long is he going to be in custody? Is this an R. Kelly situation? Is he going to not get out for a number of years? Is he going to end up serving a long-term prison sentence from this? Or does he have a chance of beating these charges at a trial that could come, within the next 2 years?
As the months drag on, the question remains, how will Diddy emerge from this experience, and what will his life look like when it's all over? Will he be able to reclaim his position as one of the most influential figures in entertainment, or has his fall from grace permanently changed the way the world sees him? These are questions that only time will answer, but one thing is certain: the man who entered the Metropolitan Detention Center is not the same man who will eventually leave it. For now, Diddy's focus remains on his legal battle and the fight to restore his freedom. His attorneys have vowed to continue challenging the charges against him, and his supporters remain hopeful that he will one day clear his name. But as he navigates the harsh realities of life behind bars, it's clear that the road ahead will be anything but easy. The once unshakable mogul now faces the greatest challenge of his life, one that will test not only his resilience, but also his ability to adapt to a world that no longer bends to his will. As Diddy's journey through the legal system continues to unfold, viewers are left with a multitude of questions and speculations. How do you think Diddy's high-profile status has influenced his treatment within the criminal justice system? And do you believe his experiences in the Metropolitan Detention Center will forever alter his public persona and legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more celebrity updates and insights. Until next time, stay tuned.